What if I told you that Apple, Samsung, and Google are all about to be entirely replaced? And I mean replaced by a phone that has absolutely zero apps, no app store, no grid of colorful little icons, literally nothing. And honestly, the wildest part, it's already in production today.
It really is. We're looking at a very real, very fast-moving supply chain reality right now. You've got OpenAI, MediaTek, and Luxshare. Three absolute titans teaming up to potentially host the funeral for the smartphone as we know it. So welcome to today's Explainer, where we are fully breaking down this 2027 agentic phone revolution.
I want you to just let this thought sink in for a second. The grid of icons is the floppy disk of the 2020s. That's the baseline we're operating from now. This represents a literal existential threat to the slab of glass currently sitting in your pocket. The whole ecosystem we've all relied on since 2007 is facing a total paradigm shift. We're talking about the complete death of the App Store. But wait, taking a step back here, why does a software company like OpenAI even need to build their own hardware in the first place? Well, it all comes down to the architecture. Right now, what we're using is basically turn-based AI. It's kind of like playing chess by mail, right? You type out a prompt, you wait, it responds, you wait again. But the future they are building is continuous agentic AI. You need to think of it like an autonomous worker running continuously in the background, making decisions, executing tasks across different tools. Imagine a junior employee that literally never sleeps. An agent like that just doesn't fit inside a standard chatbot app. It fundamentally requires a device built from the ground up to support it.
And the sheer scale of this play is just wild. We're looking at 30 million units confirmed for a mass production fast track in 2027.
Wait, 30 million? Just to put that into perspective for a second, the original iPhone shipped what, maybe 6 million units in its entire first year?
Exactly. OpenAI is launching this totally unproven, category-defining device with 5 times the ambition of Apple's original debut. This isn't just some neat science project in a lab, it is a massive, highly coordinated consumer hardware play.
Okay, we've got to crack this thing open. I want to get into the actual engineering mechanics here. What does the silicon of an always-on agent actually look like?
Right? Because you absolutely cannot run an AI operating system on off-the-shelf chips. They are reportedly using a heavily customized MediaTek Dimensity 9600 chipset, and it's built on TSMC's N2P node.
Hold on, N2P? Isn't that a 2-nanometer architecture?
It is. It's literally the bleeding edge of physics right now. Every single piece of silicon here had to be custom designed under the core assumption that AI isn't just an app you launch anymore. The AI is the operating system.
But wait, why isn't a standard NPU enough for this? Don't most flagship phones today already have neural engines baked in? They do, yeah. But an agent is running dozens of parallel tasks at once. It's actively listening to your context, it's reading the screen, it's scheduling things, all at the exact same time. A single NPU would just completely choke. So they're using a dual-NPU architecture to split that workload. One NPU acts as the reflexes processor for super low latency real-time inference, and the other acts as the thinking processor for high-cost, deep reasoning. That split is exactly how the chip can run all these massive workloads simultaneously without literally melting in your hand. And the memory specs they need are equally staggering. We're looking at next-generation LPDDR6 RAM, which just gives unprecedented bandwidth. And this matters immensely because, for an agentic AI, its RAM is literally its memory of you, your identity, your ongoing context. That joke you made yesterday, it all lives in the RAM. And when you pair that with UFS 5.0 storage for zero-latency file retrieval, the agent can instantly pull up your calendar or past chats in milliseconds. Because if the storage is slow, or worse, if the memory clears out, the phone fundamentally forgets who you are.
Okay, wait, so if I clear my RAM to speed up my phone, my agent essentially gets amnesia? That is slightly terrifying.
Which actually brings up a massive red flag for me. If this phone is acting as a literal cognitive twin of my entire life, how on earth can it possibly be secure? We have to talk about how paranoia is baked right into the design.
This is where the hardware engineering gets so incredibly elegant. The answer lies in something called pKVM, or Protected Kernel-Based Virtual Machine. If you think of the phone's overarching architecture like a giant apartment building, pKVM creates these hardware-isolated execution zones. They are completely sealed-off apartments. So when your agent needs to read your banking data or parse your private therapy journal, it executes that task inside this perfectly sealed zone where the data never leaves unencrypted. It's so locked down that not even the phone's own operating system can snoop on what's happening inside.
And then you couple that sealed room with inline hashing. This provides real-time data integrity checking with absolutely zero queue.
Oh, okay. So it's basically like having a highly efficient, super paranoid customs officer who instantly x-rays and fingerprints every single piece of data entering or leaving those protected zones in real time.
Spot on. The security here has to be enterprise grade. Think about it. If a device that completely maps your entire psychology gets compromised, the threat isn't just someone skimming your text messages anymore. It's someone exposing your entire inner life.
Wow. Okay, which perfectly sets up how radically the user experience has to change. Imagine unlocking your phone to basically nothing. No apps, just pure intent.
Exactly. The entire workflow completely changes. Step 1, you simply state an intent out loud, something like, "Get me a ride to the airport." Step 2, the agent parses your context. It knows where you are, it knows your flight time. Step 3, it makes invisible API calls to various services in the background. And Step 4, the action is autonomously executed.
Which is so wild to think about. There's literally no Uber icon for me to tap anymore, no Spotify icon to open. These massive companies completely lose their front-facing brand presence on your phone. They just become mere API backends competing purely on price and speed in the dark, while your agent handles all the actual heavy lifting.
They really do. But we have to be honest about the massive risks here, because there are 4 existential threats with an intent-driven OS. First is the reliability gap. An 80% success rate is totally fine for a chatbot writing a poem, but it's catastrophic if it books you on the wrong international flight. Then you've got unprecedented user lock-in. If this agent holds your entire life's context, switching phone brands means rebuilding your digital identity completely from scratch.
Right, and we already touched on the total surveillance aspect. Zero-day exploits are no longer just annoying data breaches. They are literal psychological threats now. And that's not even mentioning the mass economic displacement coming for all those software developers who currently rely on traditional App Store revenue.
So, taking a macro look at the market impact, how are the big tech giants like Google and Apple going to react to this massive hardware chess move? Because this feels like operating system wars 2.0.
Oh, it absolutely is. We are looking at roughly $150 billion in App Store's revenue sitting directly in the crosshairs right now. When developers inevitably lose that familiar icon grid and traditional software as a service monetization just evaporates because users are only interacting with their agent, the economic compression coming for Apple and Google is going to be absolutely brutal.
The cozy little iOS and Android duopoly we've known for over a decade, that was really just a warm-up. Apple is highly likely to lean incredibly hard into an on-device, privacy-first moat to defend their turf.
Right, and Google will probably try to push a whole new Android intent layer powered by Gemini, utilizing their massive search and data infrastructure to counter OpenAI.
For sure. And meanwhile, you have the Asian stack, companies like Xiaomi and Samsung, who will likely just license out models like DeepSeek or roll out their own custom agent OSs. The real OS war is literally just beginning, and it's going to be a highly fragmented battlefield.
Okay, zooming out for a second. What does all of this actually mean for us as the users, structurally speaking?
Well, it brings us to the core architectural bet driving all of this. Step 1, they have to eliminate millisecond latency by processing locally right on your hardware. Step 2, they have to protect your privacy by keeping your context strictly on device. And Step 3, which is the real genius move here, they distribute the trillion-dollar infrastructure costs of running AI away from their own centralized data centers and push it directly onto the user's hardware.
Wow, so we foot the bill for the compute?
Exactly. Your phone isn't just accessing the cloud anymore, it is the cloud. All these wild, bleeding-edge hardware specs we've been geeking out over today are just a downstream result of this massive architectural shift to edge computing.
Which I think brings us to our final and honestly most important question of the day: who actually owns the agent's memory of you?
That is the trillion-dollar question. The chilling reality here is that the hardware timeline is totally fixed for 2027. This is happening. But whoever ends up controlling your context ultimately controls your future.
Yeah, so I strongly urge everyone listening to start locking down your privacy hygiene right now. Really start thinking about what context you're actually willing to give an always-on agent. What kind of boundaries will you set when that app grid finally disappears for good? Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer. See you next time.